Yes, and Ave in the Volta region means forest.
Yes.
And yes, there's a big Ave family, yeah.
So, have you been there before?
It's
Volta
in Fume, in Avatime.
Avetime.
And yes, I have been there.
Okay.
I've met all the family.
How do you find the place?
Volta region?
Yes.
Quite impressive. It looks like the center of France, Auvergne, where you have mountains, it's very green, you can hike, you've got little sources and small rivers here and there. It's so green, you don't feel like you're in Africa. It's the most impressive thing. When I was driving around and we went hiking there, and I said, this is impossible. It is like the center of France. It's very green, it's quite nice and fresh in the evening, and it looks like this Auvergne, which is the center region of France.
But are we utilizing the greeny environment there as a country? Are we Ghanaians using, or are we taking advantage of how greeny and how nice the environment is?
Well,
for
I
our
think
benefits?
you have, well, before COVID, of course, was much easier to attract tourists. But I think you really have an ace to play by attracting people, because you've got so much to offer. Yes, this green area would be very attractive for hikers and even people who want to do some boating on the Volta. But you also have in the north some beautiful areas for people who want to see some wildlife or do discover some absolute beautiful landscapes that are so unusual. So yes, there's a lot to promote about Ghana, and I'm sure that as soon as COVID completely resumes, you will be able to attract tourists for what we call cultural tourism. People will not come here just to sit in a five-star hotel. Because the best thing about Ghana is to meet with the people, is to be able to blend and get into the life and the traditions and the values, and that whichever village you go to, you are so welcome, and people are happy to share and share the traditions. Well, of course, it's a rule that wherever you go, you have to go and meet the chiefs. But that's a very important moment because they tell you about the area, they tell you about the story of the village, they tell you about the place. And I think that some sort of a cultural tourism can be attracted to Ghana, because that is something very specific.
You talked about tradition, and I saw you in a very nice kente clothing. Can we have that picture on the screen so that we talked about it? Yes, who is this?
Oh, that's me actually. That's me with 1 hour makeup and a bit of Photoshop probably. It was a beautiful moment. We had a photo shoot with this beautiful kente. And as you probably know, in April last year, I went to the Bono region.
Yes.
And I was honored to be installed in Kosohema, in Hani, Nana Bene III, so I get to have another name. And this is part of the traditions that I find so beautiful. It's not real gold, just for your knowledge, because it would have been so heavy, I don't think I would have been able to lift my hand. But it was still very, very beautiful, and it does a little effect. So yes, I thought it was an honor to be able to wear those beautiful, beautiful outfits. And it gives me also a flavor of how long it takes to get dressed.
Yes.
So you really need help. And that's also part of the tradition, having the ladies helping you get dressed, helping you. It's a very, yes, this kind of solidarity, this kind of community is something that is really heartwarming.
Well, this little dressing that you've dressed, do you see any relationship between Ghana and France when it comes to traditional clothing, our culture, diversity? Do you think we can team up as a country for the benefits of our people?
I think that what is very important is that Ghana is a country that manages to thrive, increase, develop its economy in a very impressive way and still remain very, very attached to its traditions. And that's something we have in common, because in France, yes, we now have well, let's take COVID aside, but we have a healthy economy, and people have connections through the internet, through digital. So that would tend to harmonize and uniformize everyone. But truth is that every single region in France has very strong traditions with very typical outfits. And we're very attached to that. We also try and revive the local languages in France, in Brittany, in Pays Basque, because it's part of our history. And just like Ghana, France is, I would say, a patchwork of different regions and different histories. Some of those regions were one time German, then French again, then, you see? So that has shaped the people, and that has shaped their history, and we're very proud of their history. But if you go to Brittany, or if you go to Strasbourg, or if you go to Pays Basque, it's a complete different mindset, a completely different tradition. We are linked by the French language, we are linked by a common mindset because we're all French, but we also have very, very strong anchored regional traditions, outfits, songs, languages.
How long have you been in Ghana here?
3 years, a bit more than 3 years.
More than 3 years. You've gone through, you've traveled through every part of the country, North,
Almost.
Volta, Greater Accra, Ashanti region. Which sector do you think Ghana and France can team up for development?
We have, there's many, there are many. The reason why I traveled around Ghana is because I went to see what we were supporting, what kind of projects we were supporting. So we are overly happy to team up in the area of heritage. You have a very wealthy heritage with a very deep history that traces back much before colonization. I mentioned Bejo in honey in the Bono region. This was a center of African market. People used to congregate there as early as the 11th century. And you can have some wrecks and ruins and bits of potteries that are there since the 16th century. So this area was like a center for African trade. And I think it's important that Ghanaians know that their history hasn't started in 1957, nor was it the beginning during colonization. It traces back way before, and it's important to get to know that because that's part of the pride of it. The reason why we are happy to team up to work on that is because that increases our knowledge of West African history, because it's the heritage of humanity. Of course, it makes Ghanaian proud, but it also enlightens us of how the whole continent used to be organized centuries back. So this is a win-win situation. We also, of course, support, for instance, we also team up in the area of health. We have some researchers who are working with your researchers in the Noguchi Institute, and they are doing researches on malaria. We don't have those nasty mosquitoes back in France, but sometimes we have people who fly from Africa and they have malaria. We don't have that much knowledge about this disease because we don't see much of it. So we need to improve our knowledge about it. How is it transmittable? And how do we actually cure it? And that helps us a lot because doing research with your researchers, that helps us improve our knowledge on a disease that we don't get to see that much in France, but we do have it sometimes, and we must be able to cure it in France as well. And that is very helpful. We're also working with researchers in Noguchi on trying to understand how come did COVID hit Europe so badly and Africa less badly? What are the elements that make Ghana, because, well, we're focusing on Ghana, that make Ghana so resilient to the virus? And we need to learn from that because that is part of the answer, probably. So teaming with Ghana on these several areas and many more, of course, that helps us understand as well. That is improving our knowledge. That is, and of course, it's helping Ghana. So it's always a win-win kind of partnership. That's what we're trying to do here.
And is it yielding some results? Is it yielding some results?
On COVID?
Yes, COVID.
Yeah, we have some. Well, we still have to. It will take a bit longer to be able to have conclusions that are last and final, because the whole thing is not finished. Plus, we have those variants and everything that doesn't enable us to give last and final conclusions very assertively. But we know that there might be an environment element, the level of sunshine, the heat, humidity probably. There is an element of immunity system, probably again the environment, but also the fact that you don't use so much antibiotics as we do. That probably has strengthened the immune system. Well, of course, the demographics is important, because 60% of your population is under 30, 60% of our population is over 30. So this virus hit much harder the people of 70 years old and beyond, which is a population that is not the majority in Africa. And more than 90% of the people who died were over 70. So there's probably this demographic element. But there's also certainly a political element, because Ghana has had a very, very quick response and a level of preparedness that enabled to declare a lockdown very quickly. As soon as the virus broke through in Europe, measures were put in place here to use masks, wash hands, stop hands shaking. It has taken our countries much longer, and we had already many cases in our own country when we suddenly decided to take some safety measures. So that level of preparedness and very accurate and quick decisions were certainly part of the reason why this has hit less Ghana than Europe, for instance.
You are representing your country in Ghana here. What do you see, or what do you think Ghana could have done to improve the living of its people? For instance, in the Volta region, for instance, in the Central region, in the Bunu region, we all have our unique system of doing things over there. What do you think Ghana could have done differently to ensure that its citizenry get the best out of our natural resources?
Well, that's a very complicated question, because every single country in the world has challenges. And it's always very easy to look back and say, here's what we should have done. I think that any government is trying its best, but there is a lot to be done. And if you listen to people, some will say, what we need the most is good roads, because that's the only way we can actually develop infrastructures around the country. Others will say, we need hospitals, that's the most important, and that has become critical during COVID. Others will say, we need jobs for our youth. So creating companies, creating maybe more public services. So everyone has an idea of what should be done. The problem is that you have to make choices. You cannot do everything at the same time. And I think that you have assets here in Ghana, and that is the youth, the dynamism of the youth. And entrepreneurship is probably the answer. That's what we're betting on at the moment, supporting SMEs, small, even very small businesses, because you are always much more motivated if you do a job that you have created for yourself, that you see the fruits for yourself. If you decide to go to farming, you are a blessed country. You plant absolutely anything, it grows. So you get a piece of land, you plant seeds, it grows, and it makes you so proud and happy that whatever crops you have produced, you can sell it, you can sell them and do it again. It's always much more rewarding than just being an employee, doing your part of the job, getting a bit of it, but it's not actually yours. So I think you've got a huge thing with entrepreneurship. And I'm pretty sure that this is the future of this country, entrepreneurship. push people and maybe help them. That's probably what's ahead. Give them a little hand, a little push, so that they can do their own businesses and be proud of what they produce. And they also need to understand that the state is not going to provide for everything. This is not a communist country, is it? So this is not, there are some countries that had made this choice that the state would provide for everything. This is not the choice that most liberal countries have made. And I'm not quite sure it works, really. So the future is entrepreneurship. Create your own job and be proud of what you produce. And also understand that if you want to thrive, if you want to go the extra mile, it's not only producing and bringing money for just yourself, your family, and today. It's looking beyond. If you manage to produce some farming or whatever you produce, you cannot be happy with just producing enough for yourself and your family. Why don't you do a bit more? Because then you could export a bit. You could probably transform locally instead of exporting the raw material. Do agro-processing. That brings value. If it brings value, it creates job. It does training for other people. So it's a virtuous circle that you really need to initiate. But it's not only up to the state to do everything. We have the exact same thing in France. People expect everything from the state. But truth is that help yourself and the state will help you.
Some people think the Western world is taking advantage of poverty in Africa.
Who is taking advantage?
Okay. People think that the Western world is taking advantage of poverty in Africa.
What would be the point?
Well. Or more or less taking advantage of the poverty and colonize us in a modern way by way of let me put it this way. Do you see African leaders? I'm not trying to generalize it. Do you see African leaders doing enough to ensure that its peoples get the best that they deserve?
Well, again, it's not always to the state to do that. But, I mean, Africa altogether, the continent, it's going to be the number in terms of population, in terms of wealth, it is going to be the #1 partner of Europe. What's the point of having poverty in a country that we expect to do trade with? The interest of the Western world is to have a wealthy, economically thriving Africa, because then we can sell things to you and we can buy things from you. Mm-hmm. You can be an important trade partner. I mean, after the Second World War, we have been completely ruined by the Second World War, which was only 30 years after the First World War. Why would the Americans help us with the Marshall Plan? Why would the Americans support Europe to rebuild itself, if not because it was important to have a business partner? It's none of anyone's interest to have a poor Africa, because at the end of the day, poverty in Africa means that we have to give grants, that we have to pour money. And it's much more useful to give some help to have a thriving Africa, to help you become self-sufficient. So then you become an important trade partner. It's of no one's interest to keep Africa poor. Not at all. It's what is very important. What we are, all the EU countries here are working on, is to just give the little hand so that Africa, namely Ghana and West Africa, become stable, democratic, economically self-standing, and that your resources that you exploit and that you make money out of are well managed, because that will make the country wealthy, and they will be able to be trade partners with us.
You use some well managed. Are they using the money that they take from you properly? Are they managing it well? The funds and the grant that you give us.
We don't give money to the state. We provide loans, and not to the state, but to public bodies or to companies, or because we believe that developing economy, macroeconomy, goes through developing microeconomy. So it's about helping, support, investing actually. It's not really helping. I don't like the idea of helping. You don't really need help. You need investments. So what we do is solidarity investments in some companies that are becoming very successful, that are exporting, that are creating jobs. We do not provide money like giving budgetary aid to the state and then close our eyes. That's not how it happens. That is not the way we cooperate with Africa. It's not about pouring money and not looking. If we invest in something, we are looking currently at investing in affordable housing. The way we do that is providing money to the companies who are working at building those affordable housing. But then we monitor all along. We provide technical assistance to make sure that the money goes actually to where it's supposed to go. So there is some sort of fantasy that countries would just give money to governments, and then there's a fantasy that the governments would mismanage it, which is completely wrong. This is not how it happens. Even the countries who give some budgetary help or some grants, they still accompany to make sure that it actually reaches where it has to go.
People say the European countries are exploiting Africa. Ghana, for instance. When I want to travel to France, I need to apply for visa. And I have to pay for visa fees, even though I may be denied. Why do I have to pay the visa fees?
Well, that's
you give me the visa?
Schengen rules. That are the Schengen rules. You pay for a service that is studying your file, and if the file is either incomplete or that some documents are, not convincing, then unfortunately you get denied. But you need to understand, it works both ways. If you apply for a visa for Ghana from France or for any Schengen zone, it costs up to 5 times more. It's much more expensive, the visa for Ghana, than it is a visa to the Schengen countries. The visa to Schengen is opens to 26 countries. So you pay something like 60 or 70 euros, but then when you get your visa, it gives you access to 26 countries. When you want a visa for Ghana, it costs you 100, 200 or 300 euros, depending on how long you want the visa, multi-entry. Well, whereas the Schengen visa is just one fee, whatever the length, whatever the number of entries. And you can still be denied, and it only gives you access to Ghana. So if you want to travel to West Africa, you need a visa to Côte d'Ivoire, you need a visa to Ghana, you need a visa to Nigeria, you need a visa to Togo, you need a visa to Benin. So you need as many visas as countries that you want to visit. If you want a visa to Europe, you only have one visa once, and you can go to every 26 countries of the Schengen's area.
With your diplomatic experience, if I ask you, if you are asked to rule Ghana, let me put it that way. If you are asked to rule Ghana.
Me?
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Can't you? You can.
No.
You can?
No. No, I think it's important that Ghanaians rule Ghana.
Assuming that you are given the opportunity that should come and help to build Ghana, which direction would you like us to go?
I think you're going into the right direction. You are actually working in the right direction, investing on SMEs, investing on the youth and pushing the youth to be entrepreneurs, investing in roads and in developing infrastructures. The only thing is the time to do that is always too long when you are waiting, but it takes time. If you build roads, if you do them overnight, it's going to be rubbish. And within a few weeks, the first heavy rains, you're going to ruin it. So unfortunately, it takes time to build and build infrastructures, and it has to be maintained. So this requires money, and public money doesn't grow on trees. So either you increase the taxes and no one's happy, or you have to make priorities and start, you cannot do everything at the same time. The level of tax collection is very low. If you could actually collect all the taxes that are due to the state could do much more and much quicker.
You've gone to the Volta region, Ave area, you've been to the Bono region. What do you think they have as a form of natural resources? If you are asked to advise the Volta region, for instance, or you've been to develop their place, how would you advise them to use what they have within their catchment area to develop that area?
I think again, they have sorry, they have an incredible land. You've got land more than enough, and this is very, very good earth, very good land, and they do farming. But I think the biggest advice would be, don't shy away. What you have, what you're selling, has a value. Not only in Ghana, it has a value in international market. So do produce a bit more and export. And then you will really make money, because the Ghanaian market is not enough. And it's not about just Ghana. The French market is not enough. This is why we created Europe with Germany, because a market of 60 million people versus a market of 500 million, we produce Europe. We created Europe as a free trade zone. So get ready for the West African free trade zone, and there will be opportunities to export and sell whatever you're doing. The second thing I would say is that you do probably not realize the value of what you have. In the north, we have some ladies who are amazingly skilled, and they produce those beautiful baskets, and they sell it for just nothing. But they sell it to people who come from overseas, buy them for a few cedis, take them back to Europe and sell them for 100 euros. Ladies, what you do has a value. You cannot sell things at the price of the raw material plus a bit more. You have to realize that what you are doing has a value. You can sell it for more. It is worth much more. It is beautiful. And in some areas, we really tried to support the transformation and added value. Let me give you an example. In Damongo,
yeah.
Near Damongo, Murugu to be precise, we had those ladies who were picking shea nuts and piling them up and selling them. And they lived from picking shea nuts and selling them. And then we said, but why don't you transform? Why don't you turn these shea nuts into shea butter? Because the price you're going to sell shea butter is so much more. So we provided a few equipment. It didn't cost much. With the Netherlands, we partnered to provide something like 8,000 euros, which is nothing. Nothing. And now we've got 50, 60 women who do picking shea nuts, drying them, doing the transformation, and they are selling shea butter. And they have partners with many cosmetics international brands who have committed to buy the shea butter. They have increased their revenues by 5, and the number of jobs has dramatically increased. And they feel proud because they're not just nuts pickers, they are now industrial leaders. And it is run as a cooperative. They run it together in a very interesting model that involves all the stakeholders, the people who own the land, to make sure that the land is well maintained, so the trees are kept in a good shape and the forest is not damaged by this exploitation. The people, the ladies who are working in that factory, and also the stakeholders who have committed to buy from them. So this is an example of something that works very, very well. So just sometimes it just takes a little help to go the extra mile.
I asked you a question whether if you are asked to rule Ghana, how would you do differently? You said you gave them just 8,000
Yes.
euros.
Yes.
It was nothing.
Nothing. But that's what it takes to turn a I would say it's not a hobby, but something that was not industrial, you know, from picking nuts to producing an actual factory.
So if I say our leaders are failing us, is it not true? Because if you are able to give them 8,000 euros and we're able to transform about 15 or 16 women's life, can't we say that our leaders are failing us?
No, it's not at all. You can't, we have, there was a will at that time by those ladies. They had started something, and there was an opportunity to bring some French cosmetic brands who needed these shea butter. So you see, you need to have many ingredients, and then when everything is in place, then you give a little help. But that's what development partners are for, you see, because out of 30 million people, the state is in charge of looking at the larger image and trying to rule a whole country for 30 million people. We can actually focus on some areas, on some specific businesses, and because it made sense for us, because those brands who are buying the shea butter, most of them are French. So it was easy to do this interface and team up and say, okay, we in France have, well, you know how good we are with cosmetics and how attached to cosmetics we are. But we needed some shea butter to produce those cosmetics. So we say, okay, we've got ladies here who do pick up nuts. You need the shea butter. How about we connect? And that's how the factory was created. It's a common interest that enables this kind of things to happen. And that is why it is important to have international development partners. We need to support this kind of things because it's also our interest.
Ghana is surrounded by francophone countries.
That's right.
But there seems to be some kind of cordial relationship between Ghana and France.
Sorry?
I'm saying we are surrounded by francophone countries,
are.
but there seems to be some kind of cordial relationship between Ghana and France. What's the secret?
Yes.
Is there any secret? What is the secret?
Of the cordial relations?
Yes.
There have always been cordial relations between Ghana and France. Ever since 1957, we were among the first countries to recognize Ghana's independence and to set up an embassy here. I don't know. I think France has a rule of having as close and cordial and respectful relationships with all our partners, all our partnering countries. I think we have very quickly understood that Ghana was on the middle of those francophone countries, was an important partner. And that bet was certainly a winning one because you turn out to be a pivot, a pillar of West African security and stability. And you proved, of course, that Ghana was a beacon of democracy, stability, peacefulness. And that is important to us. That in those countries where our presence is, of course, a bit more, we have much more trade partnership with those francophone countries for historical reasons. But it's important for us that Ghana, that is literally an island on the middle of all that, is a strong partner for us. We share the same views of the challenges in terms of security and counterterrorism in the area. We share the same vision of what should be done and how we can help from different perspectives. But we are completely in line with what should be done and how we can actually try and tackle this terrorism and avoid terrorism to come down to the Gulf of Guinea's countries.
What do you think we can do more to strengthen the bilateral relationship between Ghana and France?
I think that what we have in common is that beyond politics, beyond the governments getting on with each other, our heads of states getting on with each other, it's important to link the people together. And in this respect, and that is the sense of Emmanuel Macron's speech in Ouagadougou, changing the way we partner with Africa. Having good relations at heads of states level is fine, But what matters is it's also to create some sort of understanding among the people. After the Second World War, when we created Europe, some of the measures that we took was to have language exchanges with German students and trade exchange, people's exchange. How can you go to war another time? Because we had been to war with Germany for a whole century, every 30 years. How can you then go to war with a country where you have friends, where you have studied, where people are now close to you? This has become impossible. So the friendship between the people is key for the mutual understanding and cooperation. If the people in Ghana get to know and to love France, then they will trust the French companies to come and invest, and they will have a positive image, and they will understand that French companies also invest in CSR, corporate social responsibility, to bring something more to the community than just business. And if the French get to know the Ghanaians, which they do actually, they have idols like Abedi Pelé, like Marcel Desailly, and I'm sure when we manage to bring more links in terms of music, when they will discover people like Sarkodie, like Stoneboy, like Becca, they will be new idols for the French. So how can you not have a positive image of a country who can produce people like these wonderful football players, wonderful musicians, wonderful people that then become familiar to us? Same in vice versa. So linking the two people is getting to know each other through, of course, exchanges in studies. We send some Ghanaian to France to study, and we have some French students who come to study in Ghana. But also having things common passions that we share, like music and football, culture, heritage, that will bring us together.
What are some business opportunities in France in which our Ghanaian businessmen can take advantage of?
Well, there certainly are many trade opportunities, because the balance at the moment is that we buy more from Ghana than we sell. So obviously there are products from Ghana that we buy, and that makes a trade surplus for Ghana. So the opportunities, of course, are to sell agricultural products. And I think that if you go the extra mile and do agro-processing, instead of buying the raw material, we would also buy the products, transformed products. So that is something that you should produce in Ghana, and you have definite opportunities to sell them to Europe. There's I mentioned the designs and products that you do, like the baskets. We are very keen on that. If you go to Europe at the moment, you should see how mad we are about wax, African wax, in home design, in clothing design. The French designers are using a bit of African print, African wax, because it's very fashionable. So you have all that to export. That's why I say you don't tend to realize that you have a lot of amazing products, design, things that we are very fond of. And you have that here, and you don't seem to realize that it's valuable. It has a great value for us.
You being your representative, you are the one representing your country in Ghana. Yes. Here. What have you seen in Ghana here that you think your people in France can also take advantage of and come and invest in Ghana?
Well, I'm trying to push French companies to come and invest in Ghana. COVID has unfortunately suspended many projects, but I am trying to push them. And one of the reasons is when you are going to work on this African free trade zone, and companies will be able to operate all around Africa based in one African country. Mm-hmm. So the competition is which African country will be the most business friendly will have the best business climate to settle down and be able to then spread and access the whole African market. And I think Ghana has definitely an ace to play in that area, because it is a peaceful environment, a stable environment, and investments are safe in the way that what is terrible for a company who invests in a country is a crisis, a war, a civil war, because your investment then are lost and threatened. So being in Ghana, in a safe country, is the safest area to actually access the rest. So that is something you should really advertise for. Then the more people will invest, the more they will be bringing taxes to the state, which will give them means to develop broadband, to develop roads, infrastructures, because that is something you need. You also have something that is very valuable here. You have a harbor, and a huge one that is working. That's probably one of the fastest working one for container management. So when you want to export or import, even when you're a company here, you need to import some goods, some raw material. You don't find everything here. And you need to export whatever you produce. It's key to have a harbor that is able, in a very, very short delay, to enable you, and safe way, to enable you to export your goods.
Let's shift our attention to this LGBTQ issue that has come into the public domain. There is a bill in Parliament currently. What's your view on that?
How could I say? Ghana is a democracy. A sign of it is that not only the government can propose bills, but also private members. And private members can propose whatever they wish to push forward, but then it's a bill. It's not a law. And I think it would be very disrespectful to the Ghanaian parliament to pretend that this bill is already like a law. What do you think the people in the committee are going to work? They are working really hard. They received 150 memorandums. They're going to work. And then you have readings, and the parliament is going to work on that. So why would we comment on a private member's bill when there is such a long way to go, and there can be so many amendments to reach possibly and become a law? So I cannot comment on something that we have no idea what will come out and what will be in the law. So if and when something is voted out of this first proposal, then we will possibly say what we think, if there is anything to be said. On the core thing, no one can doubt that France is what we call the country of human rights. We have non-discrimination rules, we have international commitments in the area, but I am not, as a diplomat here, to do advocacy for anything. So I think it's a healthy sign of democracy that private members can actually propose whatever you think, whether it's right or wrong. And then it's also a sign of democracy that the parliament has every opportunity to discuss it, amend it, change, erase, whatever, write off some parts. That is the work of parliament. And that's also a very good sign of a democracy. And many of our countries, the Western countries, we don't have that. The possibility for anyone to bring a memoranda. Mm-hmm. Anyone who believes that he or she has something to say as an organization, as an association, as a private member, as 150 memorandums were presented. So in some of our countries, when you want to push something in parliament and you're not a member of parliament, you are a lobby and you do things, behind the scene. There's no such thing here. Everything is very transparent. People very officially present their views, and they will be received, listened to. So that is a vivid democracy.
Meaning we have and our culture setup as well also forbids such lifestyle. People see it as not a right, but they see it as a choice of life, or a choice of life, or choice of style to live. For us, for instance, our leaders, our chiefs, our priests have all stood against it. So assuming when it comes out that Parliament also approve of the bill, how would France take it?
I cannot answer on ifs and you know, this is hypothetical. I think it is a Ghanaian debate that people have to have among themselves. It's a much larger matter of just what you say against it. What is it exactly? So I think you have associations who are there to do the advocacy and explain what exactly they want, what rights they feel they are denied and they should have, and who they are, because it's very many different situations altogether. Not everything is a choice. So I think it is a debate that should be held among Ghanaians if necessary. And to be perfectly honest, you have much more urgent issues that concern a much larger population than this very specific issue. And this very specific issue, to those who are actually concerned, they have associations and they do their job of advocacy and they can talk for themselves. But you know, the issue of roads, the issue of hospitals, the issue of finding jobs for the youth, that concerns millions of people. And I think that we really should have our priority rights when we, as development partners, as foreign companies, as foreign diplomats, we are helping Ghana in the areas that are the most urgent, that are the most important, and that will change the lives of the highest number of people. And I think that is, I mean, 8 MPs have a strong view on something. They do their job as MPs. They feel that they have support by, as you say, chiefs and religious leaders. They do their job. Parliament will do its job.
Do you know how to dance to any of our music, traditional music?
Not really, actually. I've seen some beautiful traditional dancing. I know that there's something about the hands presenting and being opened, but I know there's a meaning to the steps and the moves. So I'm sure I would butcher it. So don't challenge me on that one.
Apart from your diplomatic role, what else do you do in Ghana? What else do you involve yourself so much in? Oh,
well, you know, diplomatic business is already a very full-time mission, and it's very diverse. You see, if I look at just last week. Yesterday, I was, what was the day yesterday? So that's Thursday, sorry, I was traveling back. But on Wednesday, I was with the President of Ghana and the President of France, in France, discussing the security matters and how we can join forces to tackle terrorism and avoid it to come down to Ghana. We were discussing the investments that France is doing here to support social housing and affordable housing. We were discussing how to support Ghana to produce vaccines here, and how we can make sure that Ghana gets a fair share of the vaccines to be able to tackle that terrible virus, because we believe that no one will be safe until everyone is safe. So it makes sense that also people here in Ghana get vaccinated. So that's the kind of things that we shared at president's level. But then a few days before, it was about organizing a concert that linked French artists and Ghanaian artists in a Paris and Accra concert to get Ghanaians to know the French artists, get the French to know the Ghanaian artists. It was not just having them on the same stage. They had been doing duos. They had recorded duos during the summer. So some tracks will come out and be released that feature both a French and a Ghanaian. So you see, it's a very diverse kind of thing. And that's only two examples. It's also going to those regions to see what we're doing, the associations that we are funding, the projects that we are supporting, visiting companies our French investment funds have invested in terms of equity, and see how well they're doing, and if they have managed to actually increase the number of jobs, developed extra facilities. So you see, it's already a very, very busy time.
Culture-wise, when it comes to culture, what is your country doing for us to exchange program to ensure that your culture and Ghanaian's culture is put together to put us to wherever you want to go?
We do different things. As you mentioned, you are surrounded by French-speaking countries. So we are trying to help Ghana achieve what the government wanted to do, is make French a second language. So we are doing quite a lot in training French teachers and training them not only in teaching French as a language, but also in the way to teach it, the teaching method, how to make it more fun, more motivating. So we do that a lot. We're training up to 6,000 people. We're also doing an exchange program where we are bringing some, with the OIF, right, with the Francophonie, to bring some French teachers here in Ghana to teach in the College of Languages and in the bilingual schools. But culturally, one of the way we chose to exchange and present the French culture is a show that we have put together called Touch of France, which is a TV show airing on your friendly yet different channels. That is about sharing what France does in an area. We take one theme every week and we show what France does in this specific domain, and then what France does in Ghana in that domain. And we discuss that with a VIP guest so that we have a reaction through Ghanaian eyes about what we do and how things work in our country, in France, because it was interesting also to open a bit about what we do in France and ask a Ghanaian guest to say, what do you think? And is that interesting? We are different, and it's important to remain different. The aim of the game is not to make Ghana like France, but to enjoy France, but not to be the same. And it's a common understanding is also respecting the difference in culture.
Where were you born?
Sorry?
Where were you born?
Where was I born?
Yeah.
In France.
France.
In Fontainebleau. That's where François I has built a huge castle, Fontainebleau. And in this castle is where Napoleon said goodbye to his troops when he had to leave.
I see. You speak very good English. You are very fluent in English.
Yeah. You too.
Really? Where exactly did you attend school? Is it in France or maybe UK?
No, I never attended school in the UK. I grew up in Belgium.
Belgium, okay.
And Belgium is a very interesting country. It's a very small country, but it's a very interesting country because it's multilingual. People speak French, Dutch, and a bit of German. And people, just like in Ghana, actually, they go from one language to the other, depending on who they are talking to. And they're all multilingual. And when you are multilingual, I mean, I'm not going to teach you that when you're already multilingual from a very early age, from a child's age, you pick up other languages very easily. And that's what happened to me. I learned Dutch, and I spoke Dutch and French. When I was 5, I learned Dutch. So I I spoke both languages from a very, very early age. So then learning English when I was 10 was very easy.
Okay. I see. Are you a politician? Have you been to politics?
No.
No.
I
So
don't
how
want to.
then were you appointed or nominated as ambassador to Ghana?
I'm a civil servant. I'm a French civil servant. And in civil service, you have two kinds of civil servants. Some choose a ministry and they will do all their career in that specific ministry. It works for every ministry. And some, like me, are actually an interministerial kind of, have an interministerial status, which enable me to work in the Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Defense, and now in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
I see. I see. Who is your favorite musician in France?
In France?
Yes.
Oh, they are, actually, I'm very much into the 1970s. So I love the musicians that you weren't even born when they were
Really?
superstars.
Do you know my age? How old are you?
Who, me? You?
You?
Me? Oh, much older than you are.
Much older?
Yes.
So how old are you?
Well, I'm 53.
53. I see.
So yes, the music that actually was my childhood or teenage time was the 1970s.
I see.
So that's something I really, really like.
I see.
I listen to music on the radio, but I'm not very expert at knowing what and who is singing. You see, I don't really follow up. I listen when I'm driving, and sometimes I like it, but it's just I'm not the kind who is a super fan of one specific artist who will buy every single track. So I buy tracks when I've listened to them. I Shazam, you know, this app that enables you to know what the track is. I Shazam it and buy it. So it's more, my playlist is more of a melting pot of all sorts of tracks, more than just artists.
Oh, okay. Growing up at the age of 53, you're longer than your age though. There were not these social media kind of things. Compare that time to this age. How do you see the youth coming up, the way the social media is being used in Ghana here, for instance? How do you see it?
I think it's everywhere, because social media is, by definition, completely worldwide, apart in some countries where you can actually lock them. But it opens to the rest of the world. Well, it has changed a lot. It was kind of sort of a revolution. It was absolutely incredible. In my youth, we had a landline phone, and when we want to have a private conversation, we had to pull on that wire and lock ourselves behind the door and hope that no one would pick up on the other phone and listen to what we were saying. And then we used to pay the phone. The more you used it, the more expensive it was. So I remember any conversation I had on the phone, hearing my dad and mom shouting from behind, saying, "It costs a fortune, hang up." So that was a very different time. Then we used to gather in cafes, or we used to have community in a different way. We used to meet up in the evenings in a cafe or wherever. We really felt in the bars. It was a different way of getting together.
There was a kind of community spirit.
Yes, yes. But this is now a bit, so this is now shifted to social media. It gives the impression that you have a larger community because you've got lots of followers, and whatever you post, you've got people liking it. So it's good for your ego, because you think, oh my God, I posted a photo of myself and then everyone likes it. So it gives this impression that you have a community. But I think it just translates the fact that we are hopeless for getting together and feeling like we are part of something. And COVID has made that even more crucial. We suddenly were isolated. We suddenly felt completely alone and scared for some people about what could happen if their parents or if their elderlies were infected. And then suddenly we found some sort of refuge in social media. But that's maybe the good side of it. You feel some sort of support on social media. People, like you, talk to you, and that's the good side of it. But then, of course, you also have people who take advantage of that because it's a bit anonymous. You can create an account and you don't need to give your name, and you can call yourself Zorro or whatever and post haters things and think you can get away with it. And if you post something very derogatory or very negative, and then people like it and you feel reinforced in your criticism, and it doesn't really help you, think. And because maybe Twitter is only like 400 signs, it's always very, very short punchlines, and it doesn't push people to actually think. I try, when I see some comments that are conveying falsehoods, to say, this is not the case, this is not right, this is not true. But you only have 400 signs to do it. So I think that I had Kobe Che on my show, and he said something very important. Be careful who you follow on social media. We've seen also during COVID a lot of rumors and conspiracy theories being conveyed on social media, because it only takes someone to make up a video and something completely fake.
Yeah.
But the technique is so good now that you can produce a fake video that looks absolutely real. You can fake a voice, you can even make you make yourself the face of Brad Pitt and talk, and then people think he spoke, and it's not true. So we have to be very, very careful and do fact checking, and unfortunately, it's always much easier to believe something that is a punchline, a very quick thing that is retweeted and that seems to be believed by the majority, than the actual truth that is usually more nuanced and more complicated. And for instance, when it comes to COVID, the truth is complicated. It's a very new thing, so it will take time before we can actually have conclusions. But people love to jump onto conclusions. They love to have someone to point at. They love to have someone to call responsible, and they love conspiracy theories, of course.
Let's do some sports here.
Some sports?
Yes.
Oh my God. Go ahead.
What is your favorite sports?
Gymnastics.
Gymnastics. Oh, really? You don't like football?
Well, I like football like everyone does because it's fun.
Why gymnastic?
I used to be a gymnast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I used to be a gymnast. So my very favorite idol of all times is Nadia Comaneci.
Okay.
She won the Olympics in 1976, and she was the very first gymnast to ever score a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
So perfect 10. So she is my idol for forever, and she was my role model.
I see. Do you support any football club in France?
Well, I support the team of France.
No, but not any club.
Well, the clubs are, I don't know them very well. So I see that Olympique de Marseille is usually doing well. PSG has ups and downs, but is now, they have Messi, so I can imagine they're going to do well. But actually, I like the idea of tournaments that involve the countries.
Okay.
Because then it's the national pride, you see. And I also try and follow when the Black Stars are playing.
Really? I see. So in Ghana here, do you follow, you are good entertainment, right? Do you follow our artists?
Yes, some of them, yes.
Who and who?
Well, I mentioned them.
Sarkodie,
Of course, Stoneboy.
And
Becca. She is, of course, an amazing artist. She's also an entrepreneur and an amazing woman and a very close friend.
I see.
And I also discovered Gasmila Fameye in Kwamna Kwamna.
I see. So what's your favorite song? Ghana, I mean, our artist Sarkodie, Becca.
Well, that's terrible. That is a terrible one. But I've sorted this out. I think one of my favorite songs is the one featuring both Sarkodie and Stoneboy, called The Strength of a Woman.
The Strength of a Woman.
Yes.
Do we have it here? Production team, do you have this strong Strength of a Woman, right? Prince, okay, we are looking for it. Can you sing any of their songs?
can I sing any of their songs? I don't think you would like to hear me sing.
Why?
I
would love to.
I can sing some of the, you know, the ones that we heard a lot during the elections. Papa bimate, aye, that one. I thought it was very entertaining. And I liked one that, you know, I have a beautiful chef at the residence. She got married.
Okay.
And I was so keen to see a traditional Ghanaian wedding that I hosted it at the residence.
Wow.
So there was the engagement and the wedding. And I was so blessed to attend this and the tradition. It was so much fun. And she was absolutely beautiful, stunning in the engagement part with the kente. Her husband-to-be was also wearing a beautiful outfit. And when they arrived, you know, after the sharing of gifts and after the fiancé agreed to take the young lady, when she arrived, they were playing Yesu Edin Kunim over whatever. Yesu Edin Kunim, and I love that song.
I see.
So I tried to find it and I downloaded it, and now I listen to it.
I see. And ye mamia or ye France Abana Musini or Manganamuna ye din como and Eddie Cornoboko Yegidi Quansocrana and some can be papa. Now is being himself and never person 2 new betray and Anke say Ghana for you beyond the Numutuana or say as Semper Mati or Yosiano. I ended the pa and yes, we didn't kunim and no one put a boss on you no. When a boss, yes, we didn't kunimuno. Koda ne boss anyum ya koda ne boss anyum no e de ye pa antina kam se on to kakra se me pese meti se water nanso never man na to be ene kra man na to anansesem kakra wa kan kase mu ansa ne asore akọ. All right, Your Excellency, we are about to say a very goodbye to you. Let's pick some little tree before you go.
Oh my God, it is sen.
Yeah, na also so ho ye.
Yeah.
Yeah, frozen.
Well, that's the most tree I know, right? So you lose me now.
So you're frozen.
What's that?
What's
one?
your name?
My name?
You're frozen.
Frozen.
You're frozen.
You're frozen.
Then you say you're freme. Then you add your name.
You're freme and Sophie are they?
I see. What did you say?
Oh gosh, you're losing
How
me.
old are you?
Very old.
Me nimpa. Aduane be na pepa. Ghana aduane be na pepa.
You do realize I don't speak tree,
Ghana
right?
aduane be. What kind of food do you
Food?
like?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I love palava sauce with plantain. That is fantastic. And kelewele. I mean.
Kelewele.
Oh, kelewele. You could.
Pepa.
Yeah,
I like kelewele pa.
Oh, of course. Kelewele is a
katia.
killer. It's fantastic.
I see.
It's like a sweet. It's like, oh gosh, it's so good.
I see. And which day were you born?
I was born on a Sunday, so I think I would be Akusia.
Akusia. Na Akusia. Yeah, that's a pass or by why? Thanks so very much for coming.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's so by yeah.
Medase.
Na yehwe kwanse obesan ababio. We are expecting you to come back once again.
That would be my pleasure.
Yes. And then Akpe Kakakasia, Volta region.
Yes.
Akpe, that's thank you.
I will go to the Volta region again very soon to see my family, my Ave family.
I see. Asembe na okacha Ghana for answer sorry. Your last word to Ghanaians before you go.
Trust yourselves. Trust yourselves. You have talents, you are intelligent, you are dynamic, you are young, you are shaping the future. So shape this world, otherwise someone else will.
TTR, very short, very insightful.
Thank you.
Thanks so very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Hope to have you another time here. God bless you so very much. Yene abana musini French abana musini o wamangane mu na yedi nkomo ene anope na nse wakati etia do katwa atu na msusu se ye nyina sisi adwene ho ye pa o se ji wo hudi ye nyina hudi se Ghanafo na ye nso o manum se ye dia se ye nso o manum se ye dia obi be so mama ye no nipa ne so mama ye nso a enko ye dia bio asem no kan no eyetiawa nanso emu do o se Ghana ye me ene wo dia nti ye nso mu ye na ye nane o man no enye se dia ye pe na se anya ne sa na so bi be so mu man a onipa be ne sa dia ono no pe nti ye nya so mfa so wo tu ye fo pa si tie a ebeboa ye nyina ene me French bi ba na nka se me ka ba ntumi anka me director for Yaba o hwe manim no ho afa pa enti ansa na be jamo kwan na makono ene eye Docas osei e Japan ene nana kwame ene o mawoda efi yakona ma ho oso mamo ene ebusuaman yo Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs osei wo mo happy birthday mo mienu nyina ye mamo happy birthday pa anti sewa ma cha no pay Bilateral anti sewa a very good morning to you yeko na ka me pese ye to enum wo si Yesu adin ko nim ampa
yes we can over Satan power.
Okay, yenya wo nyom ba ko no de sakode ni stone boy no ho yenya nti yembo yenhwe momo ne yenhwe na so oh yeah thanks so very much ebeda wasi pi so onya breba ye dase once again ye dase papa France abana musini o manga na mu ena ye ne di nkomo ena no pemidin e de eja kwabra de o ka twa ato abese susudua ne se o se yenye ehudi se Ghanafo ye so o manum se ye man ye nchichiro man se de be ye man na se yenye nso man chichire a obi bebe ye man no nipa ne ye man ye nso a obe ne se de ope onye ne se de ayepe no tiawa ye de mase ho ya doma ye be se nhia is it au revoir?
Au revoir, absolutely.
Au revoir. Au revoir. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir. Bye.
Well done.
Thank you.
Congratulations.